Wow, we're back. Here we are.
Been a minute.
Huh?
Literally.
What? What'd you say?
It's been a minute.
Well, not as far as the listenership knows.
That's right.
As far as they know, it's been an entire week.
That's right.
But no,
I'm even wearing a different shirt.
Nobody wants to know what happened between then and now, man.
It's been a whole week.
Well, maybe. Anyway, it's fine. No, here we are. All right. Talking winter with Swinner again. With, I'm going to go backwards. With me, Ken Bogeman, Brent Reeder, Adam Hunter, Jason Duggan. All here from the Swinner Group World Headquarters, St. Louis, Missouri, which is also the world headquarters of SG Advantage, which, if you haven't gathered that already, the SG does in fact stand for Swinner Group.
Boom.
There it is. The SG Advantage systems and software for snow, which really we can call our main sponsor at this point. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our primary sponsor.
Yeah, as far as it goes. Yep. But no, we were in between the last show and the start of this one. Adam got a was it an email or was it a?
It was a message on Facebook. It was a comment.
Yeah.
And let's see. He says, "What is SW?" Which I'm assuming that stands for software, because I put a post out that said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Illinois, next week. We're going to be stopping in, checking with different contractors and companies, and seeing if we can utilize their time, because I know their time's precious to them, just like ours is. And we want to talk to them about the software that we've used for the last, probably since 2015.
And it's actually been since before that, about 2012, 13-ish.
Okay.
It was when we started using the Storm side. 2015 is when we rolled out the CRM and bidding and contracts and blah, 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 all that stuff. Kind of the data management side was 2015. And then, I got it all combined here in the last couple of years. So
cool.
Yeah. But no, the question was, what's in it? To which I then said, well, you got, no?
You got to pass it.
You gotta buy it to know what's in it.
There you go.
That's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
Following the leadership of this country. I mean,
it's fine.
Sort of.
It's fine. It's fine.
I think a better answer is everything.
Everything's
in it.
Everything you need for snow.
This is true. No, it definitely does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're gonna, as you listen, you're gonna hear more about that. We don't want to ramble on that. This does not turn into a sales pitch for SG Advantage.
No, because we put the S in winter. Swinter. You like that?
You know what? I actually really like. We put the S in winter. Holy crap!
Boom,
dude, that's good. And Nicole's not here today, which is really unfortunate because we could have been like, Nicole! Hey! Usually she'll be sitting over there and she doesn't have headphones on or anything because she's actually working, but we can, say something to her about things like that. Yeah, that's good. We put the S in winter. Swinner. Holy shit, that's good. I love it. All right, but that's not...
All right, down to business.
Main topic. That's right. That's right. We've wasted 3 minutes and 38 seconds of the fine listener's time at this point, so let's...
Well, you know what we should do then?
Waste more?
No, absolutely not. Let's talk about route building.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, you skipped. You know what? Fine. We'll go to the next one. Fine.
Okay.
That's fine. We'll come. Hang on. Let me make a note. Got to come back to this over here. No,
he's reading ahead again.
No,
I know. That's
You
fine.
can read?
Well, we got to talk about pricing types. I read all
I didn't think you could see.
You can read. Oh, somebody put the glasses on. I just went next to the bold one there.
You're like a new man. Did you change your shirt?
Yeah, it's been a week, dude.
Oh,
of course
right.
I did.
Look like the same one.
Nice. All right, route building. All right, yep. All right. So, talking about building routes. All right. So, man, okay. Routing is again, it's another one of those things that it's really easy to overthink that, right? So what was fun was this goes back, I'm going to say 2009-ish, right? We had I was working, helping out with a bunch of work up in the Minneapolis area. And there was like 30 or 40 sites or something like that we all had to put together that came in on one contract. And and they were talking about, they were analyzing drive times and they were analyzing, the size of the spreader, and they were doing they were on this great big table and tons of analyzing going on. And then one of they had all of them up on a that we were projecting onto a whiteboard, right? And dude comes walking up and And he gets his dry erase marker, and he's looking at all the pins on the map. He goes, okay, and he puts the dry erase marker in. He circles a group of them in one spot. Then he goes over and he circles a group in another spot. Then he goes over and he circles a group in another spot. And then he just kind of kept doing that, right? And next thing you know, there's the routes. And he turns around and he's like, this isn't really that complicated, fellas. And kind of true, you know. It's you gotta do some thinking.
Unless those were all 20-acre sites.
No, they were all they may or may not have had fuel islands on them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then in that case, it's not that complicated.
No, it's just not that complicated. So now, but to your point, if you're having to route great big complicated sites that have got very complex scopes of work, that is a much different monster than 65 Burger Kings.
Yeah.
Are Burger King still in business, or I would assume they are.
I think so.
I haven't been to a Burger King in a long time.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They are. They're closing quite a few down, but they are.
Yeah, I thought because I know. Yeah, okay, huh? What?
I didn't know they closed any.
Oh yeah.
I read an article.
You read?
Are you a reader?
More so than Jason.
I mean, I would just assume that with Chick-fil-A out, that it's going to just destroy every other fast food restaurant. So,
Fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, fair enough. So yeah, so all right, so let's break this up into a couple different sections. Let's start with easy to route, and then we're going to go to not so easy, and then we're getting it into difficult. What do you think? Sound good?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right, easy to route. 5 acres or more dedicated equipment.
Square parking lot.
Done. I don't know if it's square. I think it's the if you're going to send a piece of equipment and it's going to live at that site,
True.
done.
Yeah.
Like I've got a 10-acre retail facility. I'm going to put 2 skid steers there, one with a plow, one with a pusher. That's what I'm going to plow it with, and they're never going to leave. Okay, easy,
Yeah.
right? Salting that thing. Okay, great. I'm going to send this truck. It's going to take that many trips. Done. I think that's easy, right?
Yep.
When you can have dedicated stuff, it knows you're good to go. I think that there's that property size that you're talking 5 to 10, maybe 15 acres, where in that's kind of your pretty easy to route. Yeah, because you're going to use dedicated equipment. You don't have to put it on a route, and you don't really got to think too hard about it, right? Like like you're talking, it's going to be anchored by maybe that center is anchored by a big box retailer, and you've got some ancillary businesses on the outlots. Not a huge deal, right?
Right.
I think that same size property now gets more complex if you have, say, it's 5 to 15 acres, but now it's a owner-occupied single tenant, right? So now let's go. You're a call center, or you're a
Like a manufacturer or something.
manufacturing facility. You're a pharmaceutical manufacturer. You're a trucking outfit. You're single source, single tenant, owner-occupied. Well, now you might have those 2 pieces of equipment that are there, or 3 pieces of equipment that are there. So the complexity remains the same, but the importance is now higher, right? There's a higher scope of work, a higher standard that has to be met. So now you got to put a little brain power in who's actually going there, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now those 2 categories, right? So you've got dedicated equipment that the job has to be done, but it's not like you've got somebody that's in an office in that building looking in the parking lot 24/7 ready to call you at a moment's notice. They're in an office in Georgia, right? Or same size, but somebody's there and can call you at any minute. Same size property, same level of complexity, but it's the personnel that really makes the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you get above that 15-acre mark, right? And so now you're talking maybe 20 acres and above. Well, now you're into things where you're probably not going to be performing that either entirely in-house or with one subcontractor. That's something now where you're going to have probably split services, right?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
But
Wait. Harumph? Oh my God.
We all know what it means.
I don't think that these 2 know what it means.
no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy. Nothing? Blazing Saddles? Nothing?
Oh, that's been a while since I've seen that. Long time.
I'm sorry. I thought we all knew.
I
these
tried to
days.
show that to my wife recently, and it didn't go over well.
No. You can't
Oh,
do that
no.
recently. No. In fact,
It's actually on Netflix right now.
is it really?
Blazing
It
Saddles?
is. It is. It came up on my feed. Like, you should watch this.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, I tried to watch that with my daughter a couple years ago, and she made me turn it off. She's like, "This is the most hateful, unbelievably awful thing I've ever seen." I'm like, "Yeah,
And yet it's
Yeah.
not.
it was." Oh no, it is. It's by today's standards.
Oh yeah.
There's zero chance that movie's made.
Today's standards aren't really applicable.
What's great is when I watched it, it was in high school. It was American History movies. And we watched it. Blazing Saddles. Shout out Mr. Brown.
Oh man,
good for him.
Yeah, no, I think the only way you pull that off is if it's done by Matt Parker or Trey Stone. They could probably pull it off.
And it's mostly animated.
Yeah, you can't do that live.
For some reason, you have a bit more room if you do an animated show than if you do something with just normal people. South Park, Archer.
You know, I've never seen Archer.
No.
Oh boy, you're missing out.
Is it good?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so
Beavis and Butthead.
oh yeah.
Simpsons.
Everybody loves The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Fair. Okay. Good sidetrack. So now you get into those bigger properties, and you're gonna have either a that's a big operation, right? So now you have to get into, there has to be somebody that's running things on site. So you've got a site manager of some kind. You probably got multiple different, service providers, subcontractors, crew leaders. I mean, that's an entirely different monster that really, I think when it comes right down to it, that is something that is not, those sites aren't as prevalent as some of the others. And realistically, if you're into something like that, you probably have a handle on that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the other side of our 5 to 15 acre property. I'm going to go below 5 acres. Because I think now when you're into that below 5 acre category, now you're talking everything from residential driveways to gas stations to fast food restaurants to small retail to small manufacturing. I mean, now you're into a massive group of properties that, frankly, I believe makes up the vast majority of what we do in our industry. Most of the parking lots and facilities that are out there fall into that under 5 acre category.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So let's assume for a second that that's where most people need to be. Right. So, okay. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to think about. Right. So, I think a big one is, how far is that property from your shop? And that may or may not matter, right? Because if your operator can take the truck home, okay, well now it matters is how close is that site to where your operator lives, right? So I think distance becomes a pretty good component, right? So where do you start from, right? So you have to come up with, where's that starting point for your route? And does that matter from the operator's house or from the shop? For me, I would always start every route from the shop, because let's say that operator is sick, out of town, quits, gets fired. Who knows? Winds up watching Archer 24/7 and doesn't come to work. Who knows? Anything's possible. So if you have to start those routes from the shop. So assuming you do that, right? Well, now you have to start there. But then how do you know how much a truck can do? Right?
Oh, I can do about 10 acres an hour.
No, you can't. I've seen you plow. I mean, maybe you had a V plow.
But that was a low.
But
that was a very
with
low
that,
blow.
If
with
you
that
weren't using
plow,
the
probably
whiteout.
5.
with that, with that, those
Tell me, was it a
Ricky
Ford
plows.
Ranger?
I've never tried that.
No Ford Ranger. I've seen some out there. I've seen some out
Oh,
there
yeah.
with plows.
Oh, see, what you're missing, Adam, is that Ken and I have this ongoing battle with V-plow versus anything with a whiteout setup. Any type of power
XLS,
plow,
power plow.
power wing plow, anything like that.
And Ken's right, because Ken knows that if in particularly in really deep snow,
E-plow.
somebody that knows how to use a V plow is going to run circles around.
So what you're saying is you like to
That
let
makes sense.
snow get so deep that you're out of scope and then
No, what
stop
he's saying
working?
is he likes to plow deep. The snow and everything out of its path.
Man, it got quiet. It got quiet. We're letting the new guy
Hey,
take that one.
listen.
You know
All
what?
eyes-
Listen.
all eyes
What we
went
said
to the
was
new guy.
irreverent, not offensive. So
I wasn't trying to be. I don't know where you guys are going with those looks.
I'm just saying you got it. You know what? You know what? I'm going to say that was on the line,
was
but
close.
it works.
Wait, speaking of that though, you had some shirts made, right?
Sure did.
SG Advantage they had all over.
Yeah, you plow all night long.
Boom. I like
That's what
that
it
shirt.
says.
For sure.
Doesn't say nothing about plowing deep. That's you, bro.
I was just referencing Brent's deep snow.
Man. Yeah.
Anyways, all right.
Yeah.
On
So-
to- back
So
to-
what can one truck do?
So
I think that's where we were.
So understanding and knowing what that truck's capacity is, which means you have to budget for the equipment and the operator. So if Brent can do 10 acres in an hour, great. Most guys can't. So you have to factor in.
Unless it's all drive lanes.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fair. Roads, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're in a parking lot, I mean, you really need to factor in, think about your crew, think about who you've got working for you, and think about who can do what and who can do what and who can't do what.
Right.
And you route for that guy that can't do what. Because the worst case scenario is the guy that's really, really good gets done sooner. Now you can go help bail out the other ones, which is fantastic. But if you route every single piece of equipment to the max and you wind up with some operators that don't know what they're doing, well, now you have yourself in a situation where you are potentially in big trouble if there's a slip and fall, something doesn't get done the way it needs to get done. I mean, there's all kinds of issues that can fall into play there if you fail to meet what your scope of work is on that contract. Well, now you're in trouble because you over-routed yourself. You overextended your capacity to service. So know what that equipment can do in what kind of time frame, right? And then you got to factor in the drive time.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's something that we get, we have guys that we talk to that say, well, what do you expect to make per hour? And they made, let's say they've got a Burger King that pays $300 to plow it. Right. And they get in and out of there in, 30 minutes. Well, they do the math on that. And they go, I just made $600. That's $600 an hour. Cause made $300 in a half an hour times 2 is 900. But then you got to back off the Adam factor.
You uncrossed his eyes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So
You can't see that.
yeah. So these guys are thinking that they're making $600 an hour. Well, but it's not the case, right? So you got to factor in the drive time, figure out what that is, understand where you're going, understand that route, and you try to keep it so that your windshield time is at a minimum, right?
Right.
So understand the capacity of the equipment, understand the operational efficiencies and experience of the operator, and then also factor in your windshield time, which means you got to look at, are you planning on, highway travel? Because highways, when it snows, you may go zero.
Yeah.
So when you're doing your routing, factor on taking back roads. Even though it's going to take a lot longer, the back road time on, if you're using some, GPS or mapping of some kind, when you do that trip and avoid highways, that's going to be closer to your drive time in a storm.
Yeah.
Right. So getting that set is pretty good.
The only caveat to that would be is, your city. You know what those back roads might be in your city. And so maybe use a little caution if there are certain areas of your city where you don't want your guys to travel.
Yeah. For those listening and maybe didn't catch it before, we are in St. Louis, Missouri, which is, I think now, the most dangerous city in the country. Is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Depends on what street you're on.
Well, that's what Jason
no.
was just saying.
Yep.
There are absolutely parts of this town that we will not send operators into.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So so we got to know, hey, if you're going to go from point A to point B, and in between those two is one of those parts of town, you got to go around it.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yep. So I think those are some good things in when you're considering your routing and your timing. Something else to think about is, when you're doing your sales, right? So when you're, we're coming into the off season here and you're working on your sales and your business development plan, you want to take a look at what are areas that you already have contracts in. Because if you can increase your service portfolio within those areas, now you have less windshield time, right? And so as you build in certain areas, you may be able to walk away from contracts that are outside of those areas because one, you don't need them anymore, and two, you can be more profitable on the ones that are closer together. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where I'm going with that is part of your routing consideration has to start when you're doing your contracts and your bidding, right? So if you have limited amounts of equipment, you don't want to be bidding on properties that are way, way, way outside of your service area,
Right?
because whatever you think your costs are on them, it's going to be more, especially imagine if that truck gets all the way out there and breaks down. Now you got to tow it all the way back, and now you're really in trouble, right? So that's something to think about, is getting things close. Another thing is to consider is, how are you going to rest your crews, right? So let's say, let's go back to that 5 to 15 acre section, right? So you got 2 skid steers that are going to show up at a property, right? Your operators are going to show up in a hopefully they got something 4-wheel drive so they can leave if you get a big snow. But let's say they're in a Chevy Cavalier, whatever, some 2-wheel drive car, right? That's their daily driver, right? They get to the job site because there's not a ton of snow at the beginning, and they've been working, and now the property's substantially clear. It's time to go home, go get some rest, come back for cleanup. Are they going to be able to get home and then back to the site? Okay. Maybe not. So now you might need to think about, okay, well, hang on. Is there a hotel close somewhere that we can get these guys rooms so they can go get some rest? Factoring in resting is a big part of that as well, because the last thing you want is somebody that's super, super tired driving that skid steer into the side of a Lexus. Right. So that's something to consider when you're doing that as well. And another thing is refueling. If you've got those machines out there, how are you going to get them fueled? Right.
Not every site has a gas station next to it.
Right. Now, the ones that do, that's pretty handy.
Oh, yeah.
That's real handy.
It's even more handy if they have DEF as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If you can't make it through a storm without refilling on DEF, then you didn't plan ahead.
Well, that's true
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Just
That
saying
should last more than one event.
I agree. I'm just saying it's extra handy.
Yeah.
If they have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's,
DEF as
that's no doubt. Something else to consider is going to be is repairs. I mean, what if you blow a hose on that thing? What if there's some issue and you need to get out there and service it? Do you have the ability to do so in a reasonable amount of time? Right. So, that's not a huge thing, because you hope that your stuff doesn't break. But that's something you got to think about. And then the other thing to consider as well is oversight and management. Right. So the people that you have on site, do they need somebody to come behind them and look and see what's happening? Right. So one of the things you might consider is having a post-service checklist. Right. So when you're finished, when your crews are finished plowing, before they can say they're done, they have to run through a checklist. Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? Did I do that? And, I know a guy that's got, part of their software system includes service checklists.
Yep.
Just saying, it's not a sales pitch, but SG Advantage has got that. Check it out. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, give us a buzz. Happy to help. Oh, hey, speaking of give us a buzz, whether you want to talk about that or anything else, you got an idea for us? Anybody have an idea what that phone number is? Brent, do you know?
I don't have it in front of me.
Shoot us a text at 314-260-4352. We'd love to hear from you. You can also hit us up on Twitter at Swinner Snow Talk.
You know what? The Twitter thing
I wouldn't do that.
has gotten out of control.
Is it just crazy?
So okay. So I there's a lot on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot on, and isn't it? It's X now, right?
Oh, it is X.
Oh yeah, we
it's no longer
better
Twitter.
X that out.
Oh, yep. And you can jump to us there if you want to. Yeah. Otherwise, a podcast at swinnergroup.com. That's another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely want to hear from you. Anyways, so so checklists are really good. So you want to have different checklists for different things that you're doing. We'll talk about that at a later date, since we're kind of trying to focus on routing here. But as you're doing your routing, have the checklist available so that you ideally don't have to send somebody by in a separate vehicle at a separate time at a separate occasion to go check things and make sure it's right. So the more information that you can gather while the crews are there, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what else about routing, guys? What do we miss here?
Well, we might have kind of touched on this, but round time allowance at a particular property, knowing when opening times are. So being able to backwards plan from that to be able to complete, if it is a 5-acre property, what kind of round time are you talking about with the amount of equipment that's there?
Yeah.
And being able to backwards plan from that, knowing when you have to get started.
So say if you've got one property that opens at 10 a.m. and you got another property that opens at 8 a.m., you have to do them in the right order so that the 8 a.m. can open before the 10 a.m. is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and knowing how long it takes to complete the service on that property.
Yep.
So that you can get it to a point where it's safe and ready to open.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, planning backwards from there to start the route. That's something that's pretty important to consider as well.
Right, because that's a really good point too, is because you need to make sure that you've got enough time. Now, I mean, if it stops snowing at 6 a.m., nobody expects everything to be ready in time. But,
sure.
But when you have that round allowance time, how long it takes to get it all done. No, that's a really good point. I mean, not that I'm surprised. You're a genius.
You are.
I mean, you can't see anything, but you're a
true.
genius. So.
Yeah, I'll take that.
It's pretty common that you see it, with the businesses. But one thing I see, if there's contractors or business out there that are servicing churches, a lot of times they don't want service Monday through Saturday because, hey, they're not having their service. But come Sunday, who's the first person that calls you if you're not on their list? So making sure you have your routing in place, even by the day, is important as well.
Well, and there's some customer management there as well.
Right.
Yep.
I was going to touch on that.
Yeah, in explaining to the customers that, hey, if you only call for service once a week, okay, you're not going to get priority service. We cannot make that happen unless you really think it through. So the only way you can make that happen is if you have a bunch of offices and the church, because the offices are probably closed on Sunday.
Right.
So you switch it. So you hit the offices first during the week and the church last. And then on Sunday, hit the church first, then go to the offices. Like, that's the kind of thing you could do. But that's a really good point is we didn't even talk about that, is understanding the customer type.
Yeah.
Know
that's
your
a
customer.
That's a whole episode, really.
For
What?
sure.
Understand the customer type.
Yeah.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week, Jason.
Yeah.
You know what? Here, are you going to write that down? Or you want me to write that down? I got it. Customer types.
Know your place, Jason. Oh, look. Don't look now. Brent's sleeping.
I'm not quite sure how.
Oh, there he is. There he is. He's back with us, folks.
Well, we weren't either. We were all wondering how you were doing it.
Doing what? Huh?
He said he's not quite sure how he was sleeping. We're not quite sure either. We were wondering how.
Man.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah. Understanding. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Understanding customer types. Got it written down right here.
Boom.
We'll do that again. Yeah. All right. What else about routing? Pearls of wisdom.
Probably the biggest thing is if you got plow trucks only versus salt trucks only, having to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That if you've got a truck that's servicing smaller sites that only plows, you have to double up your routing essentially and send another truck behind them.
To salt. Yeah. As opposed to having some of the truck's going to plow and then salt it.
Yeah, when you're doing small properties, that's really a pain, and that's a good way to waste money. When you're on larger sites, that makes more sense because you don't need every single piece of equipment to have a salt spreader.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, put the plow only equipment on larger sites, put the combo trucks on the smaller sites.
Yeah, and you got to be careful there too that you don't load up a combo truck loaded full of salt when it's -7 outside and all that salt freezes up in the hopper. Yep.
While
Yeah.
you're plowing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep. Yeah, and the next thing you know, you got to now. There's some things you can do to help prevent that. Most of those solutions.
Stay off the highway.
Yeah, 100%. Keep it as dry. Keep the material as dry as you can. But even the driest material is going to wind up frozen. It certainly can. There was we've never done it here, but I saw a picture of a dude that had he had somehow piped his exhaust through or alongside of the spreader somehow. He claimed that the heat from the exhaust kept his salt from freezing. And it was one of those things I looked at, I'm like, man, that's a really good idea that I just don't think would work.
Yeah.
They actually do that with heavy equipment. So you'll have the articulated dump trucks will have the exhaust pipe through the belly of the bed that keeps the material they're hauling from freezing in the winter.
Really?
Yeah.
But you're talking about an articulated dump truck, which generates an immense amount of exhaust and
I would think any
thereby
pickup
heat.
truck's going to generate quite a bit of heat out of that exhaust.
Well, I agree, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I
Can
don't.
we be onto something here, fellas?
I don't know that. So again, we had this. I had this
seems
problem.
too good to be
I had
true.
this problem last year with a customer who said, "Hey, I parked my. I know I still had salt, but I parked in a heated shop." That's cool. So the outer layer of your salt maybe thawed out, but the inner layer was frozen like a brick still.
Oh yeah, because you've been out all night. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's how you broke your spreader. So I think the same issue would still apply, right? You could keep the outer parts of the salt warm, but if the
So what you're saying is it depends on how deep. There's a correlation there between depth and
the
warmth.
difference is you're keeping it from freezing in the first place.
I got you.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's not a bad idea in theory.
Yeah, I'm noodling on it. I mean that.
Now, to get that practical and functional, that'd
That'd be tough.
be tough just because our trucks aren't designed the same way. Heavy equipment's designed for one thing and one thing only, and it doesn't have to be pretty.
Well, yeah, that's true. Kind of like me.
You know, telling everybody all of a sudden they got a pipe.
That's where the S comes from.
through
Kim.
the bed of their truck is going to be a little.
We put the S in winter. Sexy.
There it is.
I like the first one better.
I know.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
I was just trying to build them up a little bit. You know, that's all you're gonna get.
Thanks,
though.
man.
That's all you're gonna get.
Yeah. This is what happens when Nicole's not here. Nobody give me compliments. Except for Adam.
Got to keep them in a good mood. You know.
Nicole gives you compliments?
You know what? You'd be shocked. She does. She actually
Okay.
kind of likes me.
Well, I believe that. It's just I don't hear a lot of it.
Well, yeah, it's because never mind. Nope.
No, we're not starting that.
No, we're not going there.
hey, that could be another topic.
No, we're not talking about that.
No, I'm not necessarily your wife per se, but I'm saying Nicole is like, what title would you give her?
The master of stuff.
Oh,
and things.
Queen High
Exactly.
Ruler of the Universe.
So every business has one. So maybe they want to call in or shoot us an email. Oh, you took my paper, man, and let us know
yeah.
who runs their side of things when they're out handling business, out in the field, whatever. You know, give us some stories, give us some feedback. We want to know about it. We want to give you a shout out. You can email us at podcast@swinnergroup.com. Feel free.
Anything else there? What if they want to send us a text?
Oh, they can send us a text. Jason, what's our number?
314
Can you see that?
260-4352.
Wow, I'm so proud of
Man,
you.
there it is.
I'm so proud of you.
There it is. You know what else we're going to do? We're going to call it in a little over half an hour.
Bye.
We appreciate y'all hanging out. So we're gonna, you know what we're gonna talk about next? We're gonna talk more about pricing.
Awesome.
We're gonna get back into how to price some stuff for
We
snow.
will see you next week.
Yeah,
My bad.
next week on Talking Winter with Swinner from right here at the Swinner Group World Headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. You got Jason Dungan. Who the hell are you? Adam Hunter, the new guy.
Oh, yeah, Adam.
Brent Reeder, Ken Bogeman. We're here. We're so glad you could be here. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all later. Ciao.